Hello fishing friends, this is Matthew with OutFishing13 bringing you another reel service video for a Zebco reel. Today I have something new and special. It's my son's birthday coming up pretty soon and he needed another fishing rod and a new reel. So I don't even have one of these. I got him one of the new Zebco 33 Rhinos on a Zebco 33 rod. This is the, on my spectacles here. Let's see this. This is the ZR33C602MA. It's a 6-foot medium, line weight 6 to 12 pound, lure weight 8 to 1.5 ounce. It's made in China, but it's a really good rod. And this is the Zebco 33 Rhino. So we're going to do a complete service on this. It's brand new, but I want to show you the insides and see how different it is than the predecessor, the 33K. And we're also going to super tune it and add ball bearings to it to make it so that it has 4 ball bearings in it. Okay, to do a service, if you've seen my other service videos, you're just going to need a few things. You're going to need some reel oil, and I'm just reusing this bottle. I don't have any more hot sauce. I'm using some sewing machine oil, which is really high-grade oil. And then I have some Tri-Flow grease, which I use on my sewing machines. That's a brand, Tri-Flow. It's a lighter weight grease. And then I have this Lucas red grease, which is a heavy-duty gear grease or bearing grease. And I just use it on the gears. You can use any kind of good quality reel lube to service your reels. You'll need a screwdriver. I have a big screwdriver and a small screwdriver, and you might need a pair of needle nose pliers, but that's about it. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the back cover. This back cover comes off the same way that the 33K does, and that is you push down the button and you just lift up on the back cover here and it pops off. Now on this one, the button is a little bit bigger than the opening of the thing here, so you just need to lift it up a little bit to get it out, and that's all. But it basically comes out the same way as the other button and goes back on the same way, just like that. I take the front cone apart here. So okay, it has 2 pickup pins. Nice black line break here. To take this off, you just need to hold the handle, and that came off really easy. Okay, it has the same kind of spool as a 33K, and to take it off, you just got to get this little retainer clip and put a small screwdriver in there and then twist it. Just half a twist and push it out a little bit. Now one of the things you want to make sure you do is, I didn't do this, is make sure this is all the way down. That'll make this coming off easier. Okay, it doesn't have a bearing here. It has a bushing. And it really didn't have much grease on it. That's very disappointing. Hardly any grease in here either. I like to see a lot more grease than that. Okay. A drag washer here, and we can take the spool off. It's a nice spool, and this part is greased. I'd like to see more grease than that in there though. And then another same spring bearing drag washer, a keyed drag washer, and essentially it has the same kind of drag system and the same clicker system. So we need to take out this drag gear right here. Okay, and notice how it goes back in. When you put this back together, you want it so that it's in this position, which is all the way for a loose drag. Okay, and that makes it easier to put everything back together. Another little stainless steel wear washer or a spring washer, and then the gear there. Take that handle off, and then we're ready to take the center out, the center main gear. And to take that out, you just use your needle nose pliers and take out this retaining clip right here. Okay, and then you need to take out these two bushings right here. Okay, take those out, you just reach down in here. Now be careful, behind this bushing is generally a like a little brass washer. It's a little shim washer. I see it down in there. Okay, so there's those two things, and they don't have much grease on them at all. It's kind of disappointing to see. So if you get a brand new one of these, you might want to just take it apart and service it before you even start using it. Okay, now to take this out, you have, let me point out a few things here. Right here is the anti-reverse gear, not gear, but anti-reverse pawl, and it fits in that little slot. So notice that there, because it's going to probably fall out. And then this right here is the anti-reverse clicker, and then right here is the anti-reverse actuator. This is the clicker, and then there's a lever down below there, and it's connected to this, you know, so when this thing is engaged, it will click. You want to turn it off, and then to take this out, you just kind of got to press it out of the way with your finger and lift up on this. And this basically is exactly the same as, see, my anti-reverse pawl just fell right out. Okay, and there's my center pinion. And it doesn't have any grease on it, but basically it sits down in there like this. Okay, that's the way it's going to sit down in there, and when it goes back together, it sits down there like this, and that little slot right there goes inside this part right there. So when it's engaged and the anti-reverse is on, or the bait clicker is off, it's like this. And when the bait clicker is on and allows it to go out, it will move it so that it's like that. Okay? And that's the way it goes. So it'll look like this when it goes in, and when you put it in, it'll look like that. Okay? All right, and hardly any grease on this at all. I mean, it's greased enough to work, but if I were to buy another one of these, I would take it apart and service it right away and put some more grease on there. It's an all metal gear, but this isn't brass, it's a white metal. It's strong, but don't try to pull your boat around if you get a big snag. If you get a big snag, don't try undoing it by pulling just on your reel. I guess you'd have to unscrew that all the way to get this piece out here to completely service it. You'd have to undo this little screw right there, which is the bait alert. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to put some lube on it. Okay, so now that we have this all apart, let's look at this right here. This is your pinion shaft. It has one bearing on there. This bearing is 1/4 inch by 1/2 inch by 3/16 inch wide. It's a very common bearing. It's used in all the 33Ks and the 33K Platinums and the 33K Golds. And you can buy them at tackleservice.com. So I'm going to get some more of these to put it back together with. But again, this is not brass. I think they're coming out in 2021. They're coming out with a Platinum, and it'll have a brass pinion gear. Okay, here's the bearings that you want to super tune this particular model of Zebco 33. This will work with a 33J, a 33PL, a 33K, and a 33N. It's 1/4 inch by 1/2 inch by 3/16 inch. And the part number at Tackle Service is an EY030-01. Or you can purchase these on eBay or Amazon, and make sure you get one that's 3/16 of an inch wide. Some of them show that they're 1/8 inch wide, and get a 100% stainless steel ball bearing, and you'll be really happy with it. And generally you can buy a set of 10 for about 12 bucks if you got a couple reels, but it's going to take 3 of these. So the first thing I'm going to do on a Super Tune is, since this is a shielded bearing, I'm going to put some oil in here and let it soak in and get on the ball bearings on the inside. Okay, and I just set those right there. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to reach down in there with a screwdriver or this little thing here and push it out. So there's the 3 plastic bushings that come out of these, and I save them. I'll show you what you need them for when you use them later. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is put one in the nose and just press it in there like that and seat it in all the way. And we're going to put some grease on this main gear here. Now these don't need a lot of grease on them, because if the grease gets slung off or you just spread it everywhere, it's just going to collect dust. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on this spring here. Okay, and that's ready to go back in. Alright. Now I have some guys ask me a question once in a while. They ask, if I get an anti-reverse pawl or the anti-reverse bearing, and it's a roller bearing, can I put it in a reel like this? The answer is absolutely yes. Built into the frame of this reel down in the inside there, and it's hard to see because of the lighting. I don't know if I can get this position, but down here, inside of here, are the little they're like little keyways built into the frame that will accept one of those anti-reverse pawls, so you can have this having continuous anti-reverse. The only problem is the bait alert would not work because it will never go back out. But if you wanted to put one in here and buy them, they're about $5 or $6 from Tackle Service. You could do that and basically have what would be the equivalent of a gold or a platinum when you get finished with it. But the bite alert would not work ever. But if you wanted to continuous anti-reverse, you could do it. All right, so let's put this back in there. Okay, and that fits perfectly on this bearing here. All right, so that's good. So the next thing we want to do is I want to use some of my good grease, and I just want to grease the gears. Okay, and that's all. Okay, and I don't need to grease up this shaft at all or anything like that, but I am going to add just a touch of oil to this piece right here, and that's all. And then to help install this piece right here, but what I like to do is I like to take and add a little bit of grease to this so it sits in place and sticks there. So I take a little bit of grease and put it on this bottom part right here, and this will help it stay in place while I install the anti-reverse. So angle it down there about like so, and it's got to go in that little slot there. So push this anti-reverse switch out of the way a little bit. I still don't think I got it right. Okay, try this again. Okay, that's got it. I can see that that little anti-reverse switch is engaged with the anti-reverse pole properly. So that's a little bit trickier to get in there. Okay, we need to make sure that we put this on. This little copper washer goes on this side. So make sure that gets put in there. It's a little shim washer. And then we can put our bearings in. So these are already been oiled. They don't need any grease on them. So put those in and then use one of these bushings and your handle washer to seat it in there. So put this in first and seat it down in there. Get that out of the way. And then put your retainer clip in there. Just pinch it closed a little bit and then slip it in there just like that. And that's all that you need. Then we can put the other one in there. Put this on there and then seat it all the way down in. There you go. I'm liking the look of those bearings. They're awesome. So put your handle on before you put any more back together. And make sure your anti-reverse is working. And yeah, it's working good. You have to push down on this to make it spin backwards. So that's working great. Alright, we can put the handle on. Ooh, hey guys, look how smooth that is. Those bearings are awesome. Wow, I'm impressed. Okay, now let's put the button on. The button, you just put it in this position here. Has a little pin there and a hole and a pin there and a hole there. So just put it on there like so and then set it down. I always like to take and put a little bit of grease right here. A little bit of tri-flow grease right there on that metal piece. I like the way that they made that. Look, they made it so that it has a guide there. On some of these older ones, they don't have a guide there, and even on like my Zebco bullet, this got bent out of the way and caused problems, and I had to stop fishing for the day and then service it. But this one has guides right there so that it can't bend to one side or the other. Nice improvement. Yay, Zebco engineers. It did something really nice there. Okay, make sure that works good. Take this right here, you want to put it on and slip it a little bit sideways. Get it lined up and get this back part right there lined up. There we go, snapped on there. And that's all working great. All right, let's work on putting the drag system back together. Now, I wasn't impressed with how much grease was not on here. Not impressed at all. So I like to put a thin layer of grease right here so that the drag system, the drag wheel has something to turn on. Okay, so we need to put I like to put a little bit of grease on this little gear here, just a little bit, and put it back in the hole here. And it has to seat all the way down inside there like that. Has a little bit of grease for this to set in. Now set this so that it's all the way loose, just like that. And then put a little bit of grease on here, just a light, it doesn't require a lot, just a little light amount. And then put this spring washer in here. It's kind of cupped. If you look at it carefully, it's cupped. There's a cup here, and it's cupped up, so make sure the cup is going facing down. Okay, it's called a spring washer. Okay, and then the next one that goes, so I would put a little bit of grease, just a thin layer of grease on there, and then put this keyed washer on there, and it has a keyway right there. Put it on. It's already got a thin layer of grease. I'm just going to add a little bit more. And then you need one of these fiber drag washers. Put it on. It's not keyed, it just goes on. And a little small amount of grease. And then you can put your spool on. Before I put the spool on, I'm going to make sure that there's grease on this part right here. Because when you're catching that big 12-pound catfish with this, or a big 10-pound bass, they're going to strip out some drag, and that wheel needs to travel on some good grease there, right? Okay. Get that line out of the way. Okay, now we put some grease on here. Again, it doesn't require a lot. Fiber washer, grease, in my keyed drag washer, goes in that keyway right there, and then I'm going to put a little bit of grease, and then I'm going to put on this retaining clip right here, because the groove is not all the way around. There we go. Now, the last thing I'm going to do, let me explain this. There's two little cams or wheels inside here. Those little cams ride around on this surface right here. Every time you reel this, the gear ratio is basically 4 to 1. That means every time you crank the wheel around one time, this cone goes around 4 times around there. So there's a lot of wear and tear on this right here if it's not greased and maintained properly. If you ever dump this in the water, don't just let it dry out. Take it all apart and make sure this is cleaned out good so you don't have grit and dirt on there. But you want plenty of grease on this surface right here. Okay? Because this is what those wheels run around on. Alright, and they've got some grease in there. I'm going to add a little bit more. And I'm going to add a little bit of oil to these pins right there. Now, one thing I can see that's a big improvement on this is the springs are internal. So if you ever get line wrapped around in here, which happens from time to time, line will come up underneath there and get underneath there and get in there and wrap around there. Those springs are not going to get damaged. So nice improvement. Okay, and then we're ready to put this back on. So just spin that back on. With the anti-reverse engaged, you don't have to hold the handle, and there it is. And the pins engage, and we're ready to put the cap back on. When you service this and it's not all dirty in there, just reach in there with a dry cloth or wash this out with soapy water. The Zebco emblem goes up. There's a hole right there that's your drain hole. Push the button in to get the pins out of the way. Put it on there and then give it a little twist to the right. And you're done. So there we are. Super tuned. let's see how well it works. I'm gonna put the line out of the way up here. Okay. Look at that, y'all. Man. Smooth. Alright, there it is. Zebco 33 Rhino, the new N model. I'm all super tuned, ready to go. It's going to last a long time and be a great reel. Just want to say happy birthday to my son. Hope you enjoy your new rod and reel. Go catch a big one. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel by pushing on the button right over there. And enjoy your next day out on the water and catch a big one.